Well, it's a real honor for me. It's probably, the biggest honor in my career so far. I've been a professional artist for 30 years now. Been doing this show for 24 years, and it's always been my favorite show. I mean, I cast up here, and I've been doing the quick draw, and I don't know, the very first quick draw I ever did was at this art show. And there's 108 artists here, and a lot of them are my friends, and it's a real honor because they're some of the best artists in the country are at this show. They're always looking out for the best interests of the artist. Nobody treats you better than this show does. I mean, I feel that's why I love coming here every year, and I've been doing it for 24 years. I keep coming back as long as they'll have me. Art is music for the mind, I think. I heard that saying, and I really believe it. It's good for the soul. I try to tell really good stories with my art, and the better the story, it seems like the better the art. What is life? Life's a story, and it's going from one story to another in your life. And that's why if you look at an artist's career, you can see the stories they told at the very beginning, and then the middle of their career and at the end of their career, and the stories usually change. And I think that's one of the dynamic things about art. I just want to be challenged by the sculpture and have a passion about doing it. I turn commissions down if it really doesn't inspire me because, it usually takes about a year to do a big monument. And if I'm going to spend that much time, I really want to have a passion about what I'm doing. The one that probably means the most to me is the Lane Frost monument I did of the world champion bull rider who was killed in Cheyenne riding bulls in 1989. He was only 25 years old. He's probably one of the most famous bull riders ever now since he has passed away, but I made that 15-foot tall monument. It was the first big monument I ever made, and I commissioned myself to do it because I used to ride bulls, and I thought, somebody ought to do a memorial for him. So I raised all the money through selling small maquettes, and that's how the piece got there. It was, I just went through so much because, I was at the foundry here putting it together, and it burned up in a fire once, and then had to start over. And it just seemed like every time I was getting a good head of steam, I got knocked down, but I kept getting up and got the sculpture finished. So every time I look at that sculpture, I realize, how much I, accomplished trying to get it done. And, it's probably the most special to me just because of all the things I went through doing it. When Cody Chamber asked me to be the honorary artist for this year, they asked me if I'd design some jewelry for them, and I said, I hadn't designed much jewelry, but I thought it'd be a real challenge, and I was looking forward to it. So I designed a bolo, a bracelet, and a buckle, and I used a sculpture as a relief that I sculpted for the University of Wyoming. It's the one of Steamboat. When everybody thinks of Wyoming, they think of Steamboat, the famous bucking horse that was born and bred here in Wyoming. And he's kind of our state logo, our state symbol. A cowboy riding a bucking horse, I mean, we got the best looking license plate out of anybody in the country. This is a sculpture that I sculpted specifically for the Buffalo Bill Art Show this year. It's called Buffalo Runner. And, in the old days, the Indians used to chase buffalo, and they'd, try to run them over cliffs. They'd call them buffalo jumps. And this is a Native American, and he's using a buffalo robe as to help scare the buffalo and to get them to stampede. And I got this horse running full out, and he's flying down there. And then when you turn the sculpture around, the buffalo robe turns into a buffalo. It's kind of a dual-sided story, So, like I said, a good sculpture is all about design and composition and line, but, you try to want to tell a good story when you can. And I think Buffalo Runner is kind of tells an interesting story, and it makes it kind of a unique sculpture when it has kind of a dual meaning in it with the buffalo and everything. And it's kind of nice having this on a turntable where you can see both sides easily. I was 23 years old. I used to ride bulls and broncs, and I'd quit rodeo, and I felt like something was missing. And I went to Harry Jackson's studio in Lost Cabin, Wyoming. He wasn't even there. And I saw this bronze of Steamboat. And it's called Two Champs. It was about 3 feet tall, and I said, man, that is the most beautiful thing. I wanted to own it. It really had a power in it. And I asked the guy, I said, well, how much is that sculpture? And he goes, it's $35,000. I said, wow. I'm 23 years old, I couldn't afford it, but I said, well, maybe I can go make one. And so Harry Jackson's, just seeing his work, and I met him later on, but before I even knew him, just seeing that bronze inspired me to become a sculptor. In fact, my first sculpture was a bull rider, and it was called Spinning and Winning. And Bucky Hall, who I've been casting at Calico Foundry here in Cody for 35 years, he said, let me enter it in the Chamber Art Show. So in 1980, I entered that in the art show over there, and I won first place, won a blue ribbon and $15 in the amateur division, and I thought, well, I'm on to something now. So Cody has a lot of history with me too. So my first art show, my first ribbon, that's where I've been casting my work for all these years.